Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at right now. So today we're going to be talking about special sets. And with special sets, the best way I can describe this tool is if you ever wanted to match anything with something else, maybe a sweeper into that perfect song, maybe a song by the same artist into a song by that same artist, a little back to back, a twofer, things like that. And we'll also talk about how to use this tool to tease, maybe help build TSL, grow with hooks, and looking into the future of your log of what scheduling and being able to schedule that automatically. So you can have a promo or a music promo on demand right at your fingertips before it even goes stale, the very same day that you created it. We all know that, right? So let's begin with special sets and just the basics of what you see in your clock in this element properties. The first thing, as I mentioned, we have to decide which direction are we trying to use the special set for. So you'll see here in my clock, I currently have something for my C category, and I've got a couple special sets here in front of it. I could easily put a special set behind it, next to it, however I'd like, but it really depends on what I'm going to do with my decision here in this drop down with the song. So first, let's talk about each one of these and what each one of these can do for you. Previous song, any. This position will match the previous song for the field designated. So plain and simple, it'll look at the previous song and find the match based on whatever field we told it to do so. And we'll talk about your options with the fields here in just a second. Your next one is going to be next song, any. This position will match the next song for the field that you decided to pick. Previous music only. This will look at the position to match it with the previous music position for this field that you've selected. Next music only. That's my personal favorite. This position will match only to the next song position based on the field you selected in the following dropdown. Previous non-music only. This position will match only to the previous non-music position that you've designated in the field again in the dropdown. Next non-music only. It'll match only the next non-music position for the field that you've selected to match with. Now, this one's going to be fun later on in the webinar. Previous same set pass and next same pass. These positions will allow you to look into the future or skip over items in your clock to be able to make your match. So you don't necessarily have to have something positioned right next to the special set. You can look into the future or look up ahead anywhere in that clock, even into the next hour if you'd like. And as long as you've got that same set pass, which is the numbers here at the bottom, where we have special set scheduling pass, if those are set to be the same number, they will match to each other. That'll make a lot more sense once we get to my demo about teasing with hooks. You're going to love that, I promise you. Now, the next thing we have to decide is which field are we going to use? You've got just about every field available to you from your library. In this case, for this upcoming example that we're going to start with, I'm going to use artist keyword, so I'm going to use and leave that there. But now, how are we going to do the matching? How are we going to be able to dig into that field to be able to find what we need? So you've got a few options here. First, to any, this will match songs with the primary keyword from the kickoff matches with any keyword from the target. So your special set will look at its primary keyword and match that to any of the keywords that are listed in your keyword field. If you remember, if you have a multiple keyword field that you're using, the best example would be imagine your artist keywords. If you happen to have your main artist and all your featured artists listed there as well, keep that in your mind as we're talking about this and envisioning that. So what happens here is that the very first keyword that we've assigned to the field to be used for the special set can match to any of those that are listed in that artist keyword field in this case. first to first, that one will only do primary to primary. So whatever was listed first with whatever was listed first in the categories that you selected to participate for the special set. Any to any, this will match songs where any keyword of the kickoff matches any of the keywords on the target song. So you're a little bit of a Wild Wild West going on here because it can do and pick whichever it wants. Any to first, this matches songs where any keyword found on the kickoff song is the primary keyword on the target. So your kickoff song will end up looking at all the song items that are in that keyword field, but it can only match to whatever is the first item on the target. So that doesn't necessarily have to be first to first like we saw earlier. That primary can be floating around anywhere on that list, but it has to match something from that list to the primary of that other target item. This matches songs where all keywords match from the kickoff to the target. And all exact, this matches songs only where all keywords on the kickoff match all the keywords on the target. So you pretty much have to look for something that's 100% correct. So if you wanted to have a specific artist and all the featured artists play against songs that are also the same artist and all the featured artists, then they would have to be an exact match amongst all of my keywords if that's the field that I've selected. Now let's go ahead and keep going down the window here. We've got some more options to consider. Before we go to the bottom there, we also have match other set members. If you select that, this acts pretty much only as a 6 degree of separation. It'll only work with any previous mode. So what this will end up doing is that while a default special set is based upon the nearest non-special set song, the match other set members features allow sets to be based upon its immediate neighbor. So let me give you an example. Let's say that your first song would be by the Beatles. Then the second song may be by the Traveling Wilburys. Harrison is the common person there. And then the final one might be by Bob Dylan, who's a member of the Traveling Wilburys. So that's where that feature can come into play. I'll be honest with you, personally, I haven't come across too many that use that, but it's definitely a great tool if you want to be able to crisscross, different types of songs or different artists that may be lingering in your artist keywords from a minor 6 degree of separation between their previous career and their solo career, as an example. Next, we want to make sure we pick the categories that we're going to find these matching items from. So you simply click the select button, and you can just put a check mark on those categories that you wish to use. You can sort them any way you like, going up and down the list. That way you can have them based on your preference or your priority. We can also bypass rules, and we can assign rules, and we can use certain rules. Here at the bottom, we've got use rules from. You can pick a category. What I see users do, and I love the idea, is they'll create a category just for special sets. There may not be anything in there, but for their rules, that's where they'll put all of their special set rules. That way they can make sure that whatever they're trying to accomplish here in separation, in what played yesterday, what plays tomorrow, is moving around nicely. They can put those rules in that category and separate that rotation style away from their 24/7 programming, so that when special sets schedule, it knows how to treat the items that it picks, so it doesn't feel like it's picking the same things over and over again in the same positions. Now, you can also leave it where it uses the rules that you've already got in that category, the same way it is. Now, that could get a little complicated. Obviously, with something like this, if I'm trying to play 2 songs by the same artist and I have an artist keyword rule for that category that's an R1, R2, R3, or any of the others, well, we're going to have a problem. If I told it don't play artists back to back and I have a separation of 20 minutes, none of this is going to work. So you do have the option to go ahead and bypass all the rules from any of those targeted fields. So that's another option you've got there as well. So now that we've discussed what the element properties has for you and how that works, I've got a few examples here of things that I've seen most popular within our users when it comes to using special sets in their clocks. Yes, sir.
Take a breath here real quick. I just wanted to remind everybody that there is a Q&A available on the side of your screen where you can type in questions and they will be fielded by myself and possibly other people on the support team here. So if you do have any questions along the way, please type those in there. And where appropriate, we'll even interfere with Jesus so that he can answer those questions right within his presentation. Sorry to interrupt you, Jesus. You can carry on.
No problem. So now what we're going to discuss is I've created a handful of clocks here to be able to show you some key examples of some of the things that have been the most popular when people use special sets, and hopefully it's something that will come in handy for you. The first one's going to be what most of us call a twofer, or playing two songs by the same artist back to back. Two for Tuesdays, or any day that you want to do. Maybe you're a hip hop station, you're doing Tupac Tuesdays. This could come in handy for that. Maybe you're, a classic rock station. You've got to do your AC/DCs back to back and your Bon Jovis back to back and so on. So anytime you've got a cool artist with multiple songs and you want to take advantage of having all that music in your library, you can expose it by doing a twofer here. So in this case, the first thing I've done is I created a position for my fixed category. That will end up scheduling first. And then in my pass order, I've set my special sets to schedule after my category so that it can look and see what song has already scheduled and then go find what I need based on the requirements that I've set here on my special sets. So in this case, I told it to look at my previous music only. So it's going to look at my C1 category, look at my artist keyword field, and go first to any. And now I want you to go digging through my recurrence and my golds to try to find a song by the same artist that played from the new. So I'm trying to accomplish that I've got a new song, and here's two flashbacks from that same artist, coming out of the recurrence and golds. So it's that easy. Just put in your first category, then tie it with the special sets using a previous music only. You can easily do it in reverse as well if you wanted to do that too. Let's take this a step further. Let's talk about imaging. Now that we've matched songs, how can we match imaging? We've all heard the famous quote, the train wreck, all these explosions going into a ballad, all these, silent sweepers going into, songs that are way too up tempo. I like to tell, my clients or anyone that visits me at one of the Genius Days is, my goal is to make sure that our listeners listen. I don't want them to hear anything. Because the minute they hear something, a big explosion, X95, and then it goes into a slow ballad, it just wakes them out of their consciousness. And they're awake and they're going to want to press that button to change the dial. But if I can keep the stuff in between the music smooth and transitioning just as beautifully as I do my song to song, that's just as important. That way your TSL continues to grow, continues to stay there, continues to keep your listener. Don't wake them up. Let them stay listening to your station in the background. That's why they're called listeners. So now, how do we do this? Well, you can have something like a imaging sweeping category like I do here. I created a field called intro sweeps for this. So what we're going to end up doing is I'm telling my special set for my sweeps to look at the song in front of it only, this power track, go into my intro sweep field and find something that matches from my sweeper category. So the powers will schedule first. And if in the sweeper category I have something listed like slow intro, intro less than 5, an artist name, it's going to try to find something that matches that in that sweeper category to connect to. So let me show you an example of how I've done that in the library. So here's that intro sweeps. So in this case, with my DMCE track here, I've told it that all these types of items can play next to this song. DMCE, they're pretty much introducing their own track. Listener testimonials, station imaging, shotgun produced, and even some dry ones. Now, some of them may not have as many. I might just keep some of them very simple, where it's only got one option. So what ends up happening is that you want to have your intro sweeps also be what you've got in your intro sweeps for your sweepers. That way, all of these know exactly what kind of songs they're allowed to schedule next to. Okay. Now, let's take it a step further. What about if we don't just do imaging? Maybe you're a station that is online only. You've got no jocks. Maybe you have a bunch of HD channels that you use that have no jocks. Voice tracking could, be a solution, but what about voice tracks that you already have in your library, maybe in your automation system, things that are so generic that you can repurpose again on your other channels? So let me show you something else we can do with this. I can include what I've created, a voice track category. And I can have them both participate or just one in that position. It's totally up to you. But what I'd like to show you now is that not only can I match sweepers, but I can make my station sound like there's some human being back there. And same thing. I just tell my intro sweepers what kind of songs they can go into, and those songs would have the same description in their intro sweeps as additional options. So my morning jocks station liner can go into any song that says station liner. Any jock that talks about Taylor Swift, that's a generic line about her, can go into any Taylor Swift song. Daddy Yankee as well. Anybody that talks about him and keeps it very generic, I can repurpose that and use it again to play in front of any songs by him. And I've even taken it even further and day parted them. That way my morning ones only play in the morning time. My middays person only plays in the middays. So you can repurpose things that you're already doing on your FM dial and use those voice tracks and plug them in on your HD dial where the station may be slightly similar. Maybe you're playing some crossover music in the library that could help make that station sound more than just a jukebox. So the sky's the limit here. Whatever you want to match, whatever you want to do, you can do it with that. It's very easy to just make a station that's all music sound like there's a human being back there. And if you build up that category big enough, you will go months without ever hearing the same liner again. Now, the next one we're going to discuss is song tags. Same thing. I think I've heard this the most on stations where the music is very current, a lot of discovery type music. Maybe it's jockless as well. So you're just trying to back sell what it is that song was. If you don't happen to have any way to song tag on your devices for what the artist and title are, this can also come in handy. So one basic easy way to do a song tag, same thing. This time, all I've done is instead, I've gone with previous music only, and I've decided to use the title to do the match of that track, and I'm using my song tag category. So unlike the other one where I used the intro sweeps to find the match, in this case, I'm going to use title to do the match. There are so many things you can do with special sets. One thing that we have done recently and advanced on, if you are using special sets already, you may recall that when you do your imaging that we just spoke about, you used to not be able to leave it blank. You had to always have something in there, because if not, you could just end up with a random imaging piece playing next to it and needed to know where it is that you wanted to go. Well, in this recent update, and I suggest that you guys all update your MusicMaster if you haven't already, we've introduced a way where you can now leave that field that you're using blank, and a blank will match to a blank. So if you currently have a bunch of these that say generic on them, because generic sweeps need to match to generic options, you no longer need that. You can still keep that. You don't have to change it. You can leave it alone. But if this is your first time doing this to your station, I just want to bring this up so you know that you can go to Tools, Options, go to Additional Properties, and if we scroll down here to Scheduling, you're going to see Special Sets, Set Blanks. Just put a 1 there, hit Apply and OK, and that'll turn on that function for you. So now for the tease of the tease, we've got the hook promo. I know I had a lot of calls in the last couple of weeks since I got put on the calendar to do special sets, asking and people excited about wanting to see how the hooks are done and how they can use that to increase their TSL. We have had a lot of success. Paul was very helpful with me in creating and coming up with this concept a couple years ago. A client pretty much came to us and asked, I need a way to make sure that my music promos are up to date. I can't keep up with them. They sound stale after a couple days. They're constantly, I'm having issues where, I use artist keywords to separate them away from the songs that they're teasing, but then I end up with, a song back to back sometimes because my MD didn't put in the artist keyword or this other, issue here and there. So we knew MusicMaster, as you very well know, is so customizable. Paul and I knew there has to be a way for us to figure this out. And I'm sure we've already got something in place. We just got to MacGyver it and change things around a little bit and make sure that we can accomplish the goal here. So it looks a little intense. Don't fear. We're here to help. After the call to help you set this up as well with any of your support representatives. But it's actually really easy to do. And once you've set it, you pretty much forget it. It's ready to go. The only thing you got to maintain moving forward are going to be your hooks, the actual hooks of the songs. So the first thing that I would suggest you do is you're going to want to create a category for your hooks. Okay. So if you want to start working on this, that's the very first thing you should start working on. If you don't have hooks or someone that can supply you hooks, start creating some hooks for those. I would, just so you don't get overwhelmed, start with your currents, maybe your new category, maybe that night category, and your library will build over time. The next thing that we're going to want to do is the hook dummies. This is just a copy of the hook category minus your automation number. Okay, so the only difference is that with your hooks, we need to include the audio number so we know what hook to play in automation. But with a hook dummy, we can go ahead and we want to remove the cart number. Now we can still hide it from export so that your hook dummy doesn't end up on the automation side in the clock. But just on the safe side, I would recommend remove your cart number from the hook dummy. You're pretty much just making a copy of what you put in your hook category over here to what we like to call the hook dummy. The hook dummy is going to help us bridge what the song is that got scheduled to tell the hook category what hook to go grab. Now, how do we do that? So let's go to our clock. So here in our clock, what we're going to end up seeing is, I'm going to just go straight to this one of these here. Let's go here to position 12. So position 12, your category C1 would schedule first. Just like we discussed with the way special sets work, we're going to create a special set for our hook dummy. The empty dummy, no cart number, that category. I'm telling it to look at the next music only, so the song right in front of it. I want it to match by the title of that song because I want it to tell my hook later on in the process what song to go grab. Select the category that our hook dummies live in. So I've done that already. And what we want to do too, depending on how many hooks you want to play, you can choose up to 3 options. So you can do up to 3 hooks. In this case, I've assigned this one as special set schedule pass 3. That's important because when we get to letting know the hook what to go grab, pass 3 will tell pass 3. Pass 1 will tell pass 1 what to go grab. Pass 2 will tell pass 2 what to go grab. So when it comes to your hook dummy, you just repeat that process up to 3 times if you plan to do 3 hooks. If you plan to just do 1, fine. If you plan to do 2, great. It's really up to you. So now that we've got the song scheduled, the hook dummy finding out what title it needs to let us know to go grab, now we can create our special set for our hook. This one's going to be a little different because we want to make sure that we get the information from the right pass. So I'm telling this to go to pass 3's hook dummy. So that's where we were. So now it knows, go down here into the future and find out what hook title I got to go grab. Well, it already knows what it is from the C1 category, and it's going to tell its twin brother up here what to go get. So we're going to go find that title from the hook category. And you just repeat for your other positions as well. The only difference is going to be that number so that we can make sure we end up with unique different hooks for the 3 or 2 or 1, how many you plan to do down below. So you don't, because if all of these were set to 3, then we would end up with the same 3 hooks back to back to back. Now, we took this another step for that particular client. And Paul and I were discussing, it'd be really nice to help them not just worry about getting the hooks, but, we both used to do production, as we all do, at the station. You probably have a donut ready to go in your studio. You have your open, your middle, your close, and you just swap out your power recurrent, and your recurrent to do something like this. How can we get this to happen on paper right here in the log? Well, we kept it very simple. We ended up putting in a coming up next item here. So it's just a sweeper that says coming up next on X95. Okay. And then it goes straight into the hook. And then it's got that in between like we would in a donut on our Adobe multitrack, as you probably do in your studio right now. Also coming up next. All right, here's the next hook. And this one too. All right, here's the third hook. And don't change that dial. It's all coming up in a few seconds. And we go into the song or the commercials or however it is you plan to use it. I've definitely seen a lot of success with this with our clients that use this before commercials. It cuts back on unnecessary talk. It makes the jocks have to actually say something relevant, not just the list of 3 songs that are coming up after the commercials. It makes a station that has no jock sound like it's live and on demand and real because you're telling them what's coming up in the future. We're not just playing a music promo where a song may or may not come up in the future. And we don't accidentally play the same hook as we do today in a promo that might have just aired or is going to air right after it, making us sound a little cheesy. So, there's many ways you can use this. And it doesn't have to be just with hooks. You can, if you have artist liners, hey, this is Bon Jovi and my hit from the 80s is coming up in a little bit. Well, you can do that too. This is Cardi B and, I've got the new track right here on Hot. Boom. All right. You can do that too. Whatever you want to tease, whether it's musical audio or artist liner or your morning show teasing a contest coming up later. you can do it in this manner as well. That way you don't have to do any manual labor. It'll automatically schedule itself. So let's go ahead and run it. Now, before I go there, remember the first thing we want to make sure we do with special sets is in your pass order, make sure that your special sets are after your music categories or any categories that are going to be used to find the item for the special set. Okay, because remember, we've been referencing C1 a lot. If I had this up here, the special set would try to look for what's happening in C1, but C1 hasn't scheduled yet. So we need it to go at the end. So I usually like to just put them at the very bottom. That way my songs schedule first, and then the special sets can see, oh, I got to go grab this. I got to go grab that. I got to go grab that one too. Rather than nothing scheduled here. I don't know what to do. And then you end up with a bunch of unscheduled positions. So make sure you go to your scheduled properties, go to your pass orders, and move your special sets down. So let's go ahead and schedule a day. I'm going to give you a little advice on doing hooks. My personal suggestion would be, if you're someone that likes to massage your log a lot and move things around, I would say to not include your special sets for your first run. We are going to have to do anywhere from 2 to 3 runs of the automatic scheduling process, depending on how you like to massage your log. If you're someone that leaves your logs as is and you don't really mess with it, maybe it's an HD channel, you just run it and forget it, well, go ahead and select your special sets. That'll cut it down to only 2 runs of the automatic scheduler. If you're someone that likes to massage your log, then I would suggest remove that, so that if you do move that C somewhere else, if you do move that A down to another position, you don't have to do twice the work and move the hook with it and move the hook dummy with it and move everything around. So the first thing I would do is schedule with just the music so I can do my massaging. Then I would come back here and select my special sets so that they can plug in based on the songs that were positioned and where they landed. So let's go ahead and, just for the sake of time, we'll run this one as is with the special sets included in the first run. What we're going to end up seeing is that we're going to get our hook dummies scheduling, but our hooks will not schedule because we have to run it again. We need to first find out what song scheduled. The hook dummies with the special sets will locate what title it needs to communicate to the hooks. That's where that final run of the automatic scheduler will be able to look into the future to that hook dummy and go grab and plug in the holes for all of those positions with the correct titles that we want to tease. So let's go ahead and click OK. This should be pretty quick. Usually I don't like to sit here and let you watch paint dry, but this one is pretty smooth and goes pretty quick. So we will be having a video sent to you as well on hook promos specifically. Everything that I just did, you can reference it, you can pause it, you can go back and really get it down the way you want. That way you can take your time with it as you're building your hook. So I don't expect this to, be able to get in there and be able to run with it right away. So we have that video, and I'll be honest, even I have to reference it. So, don't feel bad. You'll be fine. And you also have us here at support to be able to help you set that up. So here we are. We have the log. Here are our hook dummies. I'm going to highlight those for us. So what we saw and what happened here is that the songs scheduled first. The middle, Me, Myself, and I, and Traidora. During the process, our special set was after the music categories. The hook dummies found the titles that we're going to need. The middle, Me, Myself, and I, and Traidora, as expected. Exactly what matches the song that's scheduled. As I mentioned, your hooks are going to be empty for the first run because that first run of special sets allowed us to grab what we needed from the hook dummy. Now we're going to run it again. in that same day, we just make sure our special sets are still there and selected, and we'll click OK. And now what's going to happen in this second run is that based on the information that the hook dummies were able to grab, our hooks will automatically plug themselves in, giving us our hook promo teaser on demand. And I can already hear the production guy in your office cheering that he doesn't have to do 20 of these every week. So in 7 seconds, we just knocked out hundreds of different versions of promos. There you go. You got your, what we expected, Me, Myself, and I, La Traidora, and Middle. Exactly what we wanted to tease in the future. And because I know you don't schedule the same song every hour, the day after day after day, I know you've got a nice linear clock going with your history graph. Your songs are moving in a linear pattern. If you follow along with me right now, that means that your hooks are also following a nice pattern in that linear position. Therefore, you will never end up with the same hooks playing next to each other. You'll rarely ever end up with the same hooks playing in the same position as they did yesterday. You, in one day, have hundreds of varieties of different ways that these hooks are now have been created. Almost as if the production guy did one with every possible version that you can with every possible piece of audio you have, from your sweepers in between of this tube, to your openers, to your closers, to your hooks. None of these will ever sound the same. Hour to hour, commercial break to commercial break, it's always going to make your station sound fresh. It's always going to make it sound up to date. You don't have to worry about putting in a promo today and by Saturday afternoon it's already sounds too stale and old because it's already played 100 times in the last 3 days. Yeah. So, and once again, you can tease what's coming. You can hold your listener longer, not only accomplishing it this way with hooks, but your sweepers, your imaging, the right tempo, the right mood of sweeper, the right sound, the right harmonic, whatever you want to do, going into the right song to continue that flow. Not just music, but we got to worry about what's in between the records too, to make sure that we're consistent and keep people listening longer. So, Paul, I don't know if there's any questions that were pending that I could help with, but that there, ladies and gentlemen, is what everybody was waiting for, the hooks, and a bit more enhanced and another level of being able to use special sets.
So, Jesus, we don't have any questions pending at the moment, but I do want to point out with your hook dummies, the original thing that I had come up with for the hook dummies was the artist introducing themselves. So, for example, here at 12:04:23, the dummy for DJ Snake, in my original concept of this was for him to say, "Hi, it's DJ Snake, and here's my song." And so you would have actual audio, and you'd be teasing the dummy. Instead of teasing that the dummy's coming up, we'd actually be matching it on a piece of audio. We do have somebody asking if we could go back and review the clock layout for doing the special sets for the hooks.
Yes, of course. So here in your hooks, the first thing that we're going to schedule or make sure we have is the song that we're going to tease. The first special set that would run, yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought that was a question. So the first thing that we've got here is your hook dummy. Now this is the category that we created. That is a mirror of your hooks category minus the cart number. In the special set for hook dummy, we're telling it to look at the next music only, which is that C1. Find the matching title within my hook dummy category. And we told it that this is going to be special set scheduling pass 3. That's important because that's going to be the scheduling pass 3 over here where that particular hook will be plugged into. The hook position that's actually going to play the audio is going to be set to next same set pass. So it's looking at this number down here, the number 3, to know to go into the future and skip ahead to see what it is that we're being told in the title field to go grab for our hook, because that's what we're telling it here, to go find the matching title of inside the hook category. That's the hook category. This one does have the cart number. That way the audio actually plays. So that's going to be the clock to answer the question. And we do have the video that will be sent out with today's recap later this afternoon. And you will have access to that link as well. And it shows you everything we just did and how to build a clock from beginning to end, including your categories and all the positions required.
Hey, Seuss, John is asking us if he can use special sets to match 5-second intro to a 5-second dry VO imaging, or an 8-second dry to a 6-second intro song, and so on. To answer that, yes, you could. The other way to do it is to set up an attribute field, John, that would allow you to do that, so that you would just set up a match rule in the rule tree, or you can use segue protection in the rule tree to do that. So songs that have a 5-second intro would get a code for 5 on the song, as well as imaging that's 5 seconds. And then you just simply say segue protection, 5 goes into 5. That's one way to handle those. Yeah,
so that's one of those scenarios that you can, there's really no wrong answer there. You could do special sets, or you could do it with segs. It's totally up to you. I usually tend to see a client's database and see how they've already got it set up, because they may already be ahead of the curve and not even know it and have minimal work to do if they just stick to something like attributes, as Paul mentioned, rather than having to redo all their clocks just for this one item. Now, if they wanted to do a lot more with it and get more advanced with special sets, then yeah, maybe we go that direction instead.
A second question we have from Kyle asks if we can schedule the hook imaging to work in different hours, so that we could schedule in this hour hook teases for the next hour. And ultimately with that, Kyle, yes, you could, so long as the next hour is being scheduled at the same time, before you schedule the special sets. And you wouldn't be able to schedule special sets in the hour and the next one, because you could only do up to 3 passes. So, but you could, if you wanted it after your last stop set of the hour, tease what's coming up in the next hour, you could certainly do that. Wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. So, Kyle, what you would do is something like here in position 25 and 27 and all the contents that go with it. I would just move that to the very end of my hour, or as close as possible, so that it has to look at the songs that cross over to the next hour. And it's just a matter of positioning it in that way, so it's at the end of the hour rather than here in the middle where I have it now.
Mike asks, based on the part I was interjecting a little bit ago, where you could actually have audio tied to the hook dummy, so to speak, could you schedule that? Let's see, what does he say? Special artist intro, or tie a specific intro to the song, you still need the dummies. Those would take the place of the dummies. So instead of having it be a dummy song card with nothing attributed to it, you'd actually have a cart number on it, or asset ID on it, so that it would play something in automation. And the second part of that question from Mike was that if you want to set it up so that it only uses the intro image, or sometimes it grabs something else the rest of the time, you certainly could do that as well. That would require some rules on that intro imaging category, so that you only play so many of them in the course of an hour, or over the course of time. So, but yes, you definitely could do that, Mike, and you could simply contact the MusicMaster scheduling consultant for help with that. Bill's asking a basic question here that we may have just assumed at the start of this. What is a hook dummy, and what is a hook?
Okay, so the hook dummy, what we were able to create in order to accomplish this task for the client that brought it up, the hook dummy is just your bridge. It's the bridge so that, let's go to the log here. So the hook dummy is going to be the bridge of communication between the song and the hook position. So here we've got the song scheduling itself. This hook dummy, because we set it to look at the song right in front of it. And here it's going to tell that position what title to go grab. So it's just acting as the liaison between the actual song and the actual hook.
So, and to back it up even a further step, a hook is basically a snippet of audio of the song. You know, generally it's one of the lines in the chorus or something like that, the part that actually hooks your listener. So what we're scheduling here are snippets of songs to tease what's coming up later in the hour. The dummy is a trigger for what snippet we're going to play in that promo that we're building at the top of the hour here.
Perfect.
Right. That's most of our questions here. Let's see here. We've got one more that just came in. So the question is, if we were to do the top hour hook example, but don't have dummy positions, the 3 hooks at the top will each be a hook of the first song 3 times in a row. Yeah, pretty much. So the reason we're doing the hook dummies is to tell MusicMaster what songs we want to base those hooks on. And you can only base that on another special set. Otherwise, it would be based on the next song that's coming up, which would sound kind of funny to tease a song 3 times in a teaser. So, but yeah, that's how to do it. And you could put those wherever you want in your clock, those 3, and they don't have to be in sequential order. You can tease 2, then 1, then 3 if you want. It's entirely up to you how you want it built. In Jesus' example here, he has it teasing the second song, then the third song, then the first song. But that last hook that comes up is the song that's coming up after the end of this promo.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really love about this is going back to my production days of having to come up with music promos and my donut and have to, the PD wanted, I want you to open it up after the donut with the power, then go into a new song, then go into a power recurrent. Well, now by just moving the position wherever I want it to be, I can easily make every single position in the clock different. It doesn't always have to go power, power recurrent, new. It can go new, power, power recurrent. It can go gold, power recurrent, power. And just by doing minor things like that, of just moving that pass 1, 2, or 3 to a different position in your hook section or the songs that you're teasing, makes a world of a difference, so that it doesn't always sound like the same production piece every time that you do this. Any more questions for us, Paul?
Well, I'm answering the last one that came in.
All right.
So if there's any further questions, Jesus and I will hang around here for a little bit to answer those questions for you. Just to preface, coming up 2 weeks from today, July 8th, Joe Knapp, who is our founder and president of our company at MusicMaster, and Scott Word, who is our CTO, are going to do their presentation via webinar on Wednesday, July 8th at noon Central. Please sign up for this. It's going to basically be Ask the Founders Anything. We're going to learn all about, the concepts behind MusicMaster, why they came up with the things they did. And it's also an opportunity for you to ask questions about things that you've thought about but never figured out how to do, or maybe even come up with new ideas that MusicMaster hasn't thought of coming up with prior to that meeting. So I do encourage you to sign up for that one. I'm probably most excited about that one, even more excited than I was about my own that I did 2 weeks ago.
Same here. That one should be a lot of fun.
That's coming up Wednesday, July 8th, and you can sign up via link at musicmaster.com/genius.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. As Paul said, we can hang around if there's a couple more questions. I hope this has enlightened you a little bit. And I can already, feel the creative juices starting to run and wanting to get in there to be able to start making these adjustments. As I mentioned in the beginning, we will be sending a video specifically for the hook promo steps. It's about a 4-minute video, so it'll get you straight to the point, what you got to do and how to set it up. If you missed on taking any notes today, everything you need will be right there. And obviously, you've got us here at support as well. If you want to just give us a call, we're glad to help you out any way we can.
Just a reminder, we will be sending out a link to today's video to everybody who signed up for it today. So if you missed part of it, you will get the full video via email a little later on today, most likely. Jonas asks Jesus if it's possible to adapt this to schedule songs with power intros. So, Jonas, I'm going to guess power intros are those where you've got imaging built right into the song. I don't know for sure, Jonas. Maybe. Okay, Jonas agrees. That is what we're talking about, where the intro is built right in. I've seen it done that way. Jesus, what is your thought about it?
Well, I would go with what we did in clock number 2 with the special sets with the imaging. So in that case, if I had a category with new music intros or, any of those special intro type pieces that go smoothly right into a song, you can do that. And, same way we could go ahead and tell it what kind of, what title it can go into. You don't necessarily have to use the title field, but you can, let's say this was one of those new music sweepers, then I can go ahead and put in the title of the song as another option for what it can connect to. And same with my actual songs. If I have a DNCE power intro or new music intro, then it would know it not only has the option of all the other items that schedule there, but it can also schedule that piece as well in front of that item. So for that particular thing, I wouldn't do what we did with hook intros. I would do more of this special set style where you can look at the next music only and look at your intro sweeps where you have a variety of different options that can go into your song. And that comes in handy too, taking it a step further, those new music intros, they'll come and go. So you can just add it temporarily and then remove it once the song is no longer new. You can do the same concept with summer concerts or concert series. If you have, some particular set of artists that are going to perform, just go to those artist songs and type in the word summer bash or summer concert, whatever you're calling your event, and do the same thing to those sweepers that are teasing another artist at the summer concert this 2020. So you can do that to your sweepers as well, so that not only can it play a dry, a produced, a station generic, artist introing their own song, it can now also include on that list for a temporary time the summer teaser, for that event. So that's another benefit of doing special sets, that your list can grow and grow and grow over time, and as your sweepers do as well. Therefore, you'll never end up, it's 10 after. I bet they play an artist sweeper right now. Oh, it's 30 after. I bet they're going to tell us that someone loves the station because I'm going to hear a testimonial. They can move around and position themselves in different places in the hour. That way it's not so cookie cutter. Big advantage with special sets doing it that way. So I hope that answered that question.
If not, Jonas, please give us a call at MusicMaster Support, and we'd be happy to discuss it further with you and learn more about what you're looking for. So Jesus and I will stick around for another couple of minutes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon and for joining us over these past several weeks as we've been doing these sessions. Our final one in this series comes up July 8th with Joe Knapp and Scott Wirt, talking about MusicMaster and answering your questions, everything you've always wanted to know about music scheduling and more, I'm certain. So do look forward to having you all join us for that one coming up again July 8th. You can sign up at musicmaster.com/genius.